Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us for our webinar today on creating a supportive workplace culture. This is our second webinar on our neurodiversity series, and we have roughly an hour booked for this webinar, and we'll spend about 30 minutes on the presentation discussing this topic, and then we'll move on to questions at the end. You will see from the title that this webinar is now being held under our new company name, which is Impact HR. I do hope that no one's confused by the change of name, but you're in the right place. So we are still the same company, same people, but with effect from today, we have a new name. And in the coming weeks, as a company, we'll be sharing more about Impact HR and our exciting journey ahead. So welcome everyone to our first Impact HR webinar. Next slide, please. So I'm excited to be co-presenting this webinar with our fantastic guest speaker again, Amy McManus from Get Set UK. My name's Katie Williams and I'm a Senior HR Business Partner for Impact HR. On the webinar also is my colleague Laura, who's in the background, who is also a HR Partner for Impact HR. So a little bit about me. I've been in my role for over 10 years, supporting a number of HR retained clients from different industry sectors. Many of my clients I've supported since the start of my role, and I also work with clients on a pay-as-you-go or project basis. My role is so varied, from drafting employment contracts, handbooks, or providing employee relations support, and anything that may arise in the HR life cycle for an employee. Ensuring an employee has a supportive workplace culture, in my opinion, is business critical. I've personally witnessed when a company culture is not working so well and the detrimental effects it then has on the business and its employees. I'm thrilled to have Amy with me again on this webinar, who has an immense amount of knowledge and experience of working with businesses in creating a supportive workplace culture to better support employees who are neurodivergent. So we're using the GoTo webinar this morning. It's fairly new to us. For those of you that haven't used it before, you're all muted and we can't see you. So please type any questions that you have for the panel as we go through the session. So in the panel, please put your questions. We'll try to answer as many as we can, and we might break during the webinar, or Amy might break during the webinar to answer the questions if any questions pop up. So depending on whether you're using the web version or the desktop version, you can navigate to the relevant part of the app to ask these questions. I'm really sorry, I didn't realise I skipped through the slide when I introduced everybody. Amy, would you like to introduce yourself?
That's fine. So I'm Amy. I've got many years experience of teaching and working with employers around neurodiversity and building that supportive workplace culture. So I've been supporting them with trying to find out whether employees have neurodivergence or health conditions that they might need, and we'll support them with trying to find out how to get that sort of disclosure going forward. Thank you, Katie.
Brilliant, thank you. So just a little bit about Impact HR. I'm still getting very used to saying our new company name. So at Impact HR, our focus is on delivering HR solutions that are genuinely tailored to your business. We understand that no two organisations are the same, and whether you're a small or medium-sized enterprise looking to scale up, or if you're a larger company aiming to refine and improve existing HR processes, we can certainly tailor our work to help and support your needs. So our services are designed to be flexible and comprehensive, and we support you enhancing operational efficiency as well as staying compliant with employment laws and regulations, and ultimately freeing up your time so you can focus on what matters most, which is growing your business and focusing on your people. So I'd now like to hand back over to Amy, who will take us through the main presentation today for this webinar.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So yeah, I'm Amy. I'm going to throw it out there now. There's no such thing as a silly question. So if anybody does have any questions, anything at all throughout the webinar, please do feel free to ask. So today we are going to be talking about the importance of that inclusive internal workplace dynamics, effective communication strategies for your diverse teams, the benefits of flexible working practices, how to create a sensory-friendly and psychologically safe environment, and the value of neurodiversity champions and peer support networks. Move on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So just as a brief overview for anybody who didn't join us on the last webinar, I thought I'd go through and give a little bit of a definition around what neurodiversity actually is. So neurodiversity is a term that was coined in the 90s, I think it was, by a lady who basically said it is the natural range of differences in individual brain function and behaviour, and is regarded as part of the biological variation in the human population. It is an umbrella term which encompasses a lot of different conditions, some of which you may have heard of, such as autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, dyscalculia. You've also got Tourette's under that, and bipolar syndrome as well. So neurodivergent, it's being that slightly different from the norm, what is considered to be normal, what is considered to be the generally the general consensus of population. It's those different ways of thinking. So neurotypical is the complete opposite to neurodivergent. It is what we use, the term that is used rather than normal. It is neurotypical, and it just changes that sort of, it differentiates between your neurotypical colleagues who may be able to thrive in noisy environments compared to your neurodivergent colleagues who may struggle with that. Next slide, please. I do want a little bit of chit chat going on. So in the chat box, in the question box, wherever you want to put it, just put in, what does a supportive culture look like to you? What does that term actually mean to you guys? Give you a few minutes to do that. So we've got good communication coming in there. Good leadership. Understanding. Flexible. Supportive. Open door. Love that one. So yeah, a supportive workplace culture is one where people feel safe, valued, and empowered to do their best work. So it will show up in everyday behaviours, your systems, and your leadership as well. So a supportive workplace culture is one where people feel safe, respected, included, and able to grow, and where policy, systems, and daily practices back this up. What that effectively means is that people aren't afraid to make mistakes. They're not afraid to be human, because at the end of the day, that is what it is. Having that supportive workplace culture means that I can come and ask for help. It means that I can come and discuss absolutely anything with you, and you create that environment where people feel comfortable to do that. Next slide, please. So your workplace culture is the shared values, beliefs, attitude, and behaviours. It shapes how all employees interact and work together within a company. So in simple terms, the culture is the company personality. The key elements of a workplace culture can include the values and mission of the company, how these are sort of passed down towards employees as well, how these are shared, and whether your leadership and your senior leadership teams actually show them within their own behaviours. It can be your leadership style. So, for example, having an open door policy can be really, really beneficial because it means people know that you are engaged and you're able to sort of have that conversation and have that open door so people can come to you. It's your work environment as well. So looking at where you're sort of looking at reasonable adjustments and things like that, having that work environment where people are able to be able to ask questions to the whole team and they're not ridiculed for it. It's your communication efforts as well. So communication is not just sitting down having a formal meeting. It is absolutely everything in between. So for example, if you have remote workers, do you have a Teams chat where they can just throw in conversations, throw in questions to the whole team and that they're comfortable enough to do that? Is it where you're following up any meetings with emails as well? Because not everybody can retain the information that you are giving them within your communication, within your formal meetings. So being able to open up that communication, being able to follow it up with those notes so that people know what you're asking. It's your employee experience, and this goes from everything from onboarding right the way through to their exit interview. Do you conduct exit interviews? And I know not every employer does, but sometimes it can be really beneficial because that can show you where your employees are maybe struggling. It might give you a little bit of illumination into how you can make your workplace better as well. And it's also your traditions and practices. So not necessarily sticking to that traditional, everybody has to be in the office 9 till 5, 1 hour lunch break, and that's it. It's also putting into practice new and developing ideas. Next slide, please. So, culture is what people experience every day. It's not just what is written down. Your policies are fantastic. Your policies show you that you are leading through that legislative side of it. However, it is that everyday experience. It is how people interact with each other. It can affect trust, well-being and productivity as well. People don't feel safe to make mistakes. They might not do as good a job because they are scared that there may be reprimands to that. Inclusion must be built into culture, not just bolted on. It's not just a policy. Inclusion should be part of that everyday life. How are your colleagues struggling? How can they ask for help? And how can adjustments be put into place as well? Creating a positive and supportive workplace culture is key to ensure that all employees are supported. It will then lead to higher engagement, productivity, retention, and employee satisfaction. By having that positive and supportive workplace, you are less likely to have colleagues leave you. That means that you will then be able to save money through your retention rather than having to go and try and hire and retrain somebody else. And culture comes from the senior leadership team and it's filtered down. The way the senior leadership team, the way the CEOs act and behave and speak, it is then filtered down to the rest of the company. Next slide, please. Thank you. Inclusive communication. So this is really key to building that supportive workplace. So why does it actually matter? Inclusive communication can prevent those misunderstandings and it supports that building of trust and collaboration. So as I said before, by having a meeting and then following it up with an email, just outlining exactly what you want someone to do can be really, really positive. So top tips for inclusive communication can be clear and jargon-free language, making sure everybody knows and understands exactly what you are saying. Having visual and written options as well. Not everybody learns by seeing everything written down in great big paragraphs. Some people prefer chunking, some people prefer images. It's really important that you take that into consideration. Having pre-meeting info and post-meeting summaries. Sending an email with an agenda attached to it about what that meeting is going to be about, what it's going to cover, and why you're doing it. And then following it up with those post-meeting summaries. What targets, what actions do you want people to follow from that meeting? And then creating a space for questions and feedback. So creating that space where people are able to ask questions. So how do you adapt your communication style for different people? So for example, if you're talking to your parents, your friends, your partner, or your colleagues, how would you differentiate your communication skills? Let's throw it in the chat, guys. I've had enough of my own voice. Depends on the environment, the sound of voice, and the tone and the language. Absolutely. So, for example, the way that I speak to my parents would not be the same way that I speak to my partner. My partner gets my true, authentic self, and with all the swearing and things like that, whereas my parents don't. You know, the way that I speak to my friends, the conversations that I have with my friends would be very different to the conversations that I'm having with my colleagues. With my colleagues, if I'm asking them to support me with something, if I'm asking them to do something, it would be very, very different the way that I ask them rather than the way that I would ask, say, my friend. Should we move on to the next slide? So, flexibility in practice. So, everybody has heard of the term flexibility and being flexible within the workplace. It supports neurodivergent and disabled employees, as well as reduces stress and increases autonomy. Flexibility, though, affects everyone. If you are more flexible, then more people will benefit. For example, you may have parents, carers, guardians, or anybody else like that within your workplace. Being flexible can also support them. So the practical examples of flexibility can include staggered start and end times. So, for example, if someone struggles with public transport, they may not want to get on the bus when all the school children are getting on because they may struggle with that environment. So it might be a case of asking them to start later and possibly end later. Offering home or hybrid working as well. So quite often I know that there's a big call for everybody to be back in offices and things like that. But sometimes working from home, you can have your own setup, you can have your own equipment, and it can be a lot easier for individuals. Plus, you then don't have to take into consideration commutes because they don't have to get on the public transport, which means they're masking less. Having task-based schedules as well. So, for example, with if you've got a particular thing that needs sorting and you need it done as soon as possible, set them tasks and do it. Create their schedule that way. So rather than doing saying that they've got to work 9 till 12 and then go on their lunch break, have a task that they can do and create their schedule around that task. It's also important to have quiet rooms and well-being breaks. So for myself, being neurodivergent, I struggle with a 1 hour lunch break. So what that means is that I split my lunchtime. I have 15 minutes in the morning, half an hour at lunch, and then 15 minutes in the afternoon. For me, that works. I still take my hour's lunch break, but I don't need an hour to eat a sandwich. It's never going to take me that long to eat a sandwich, but I do need those little rest breaks in the morning and the afternoon to support myself as well. It also reduces sensory overload by having somewhere quiet that someone can go to. It reduces that sensory overload of being able to hear the lights buzzing and all the conversations that are going on around you. It's really, really difficult to consider how someone may be feeling unless you have that open door policy and have that good communication for people to be able to say. Next slide, please. So we're going to look at our sensory-friendly environments and the psychologically safe environments as well. So your sensory-friendly changes could be allowing someone to have control over their lighting, noise, or layout. So for example, with lighting, quite often, if the light bulb's about to blow, it does a buzzing, and some people can hear that, and it can become really, really distracting. Thinking about the layout of people's desks, allowing them whether they want to face the window or have their back to the window. For myself, I have to face away from the window, otherwise I will get distracted by every squirrel that walks past. Personal adjustments as well include things such as your headphones and your desk position again. Having that desk somewhere where they're going to be more productive would benefit, and it doesn't actually cost an employer a lot of money to be able to move a desk. And then psychological safety. It means people feel safe to speak up. So for example, being able to say, I am neurodivergent, I am struggling with this, or I am neurodivergent, I'm going to watch every squirrel that walks past, because that is something that I struggle with. So being able to be safe to say that, that means then that they're going to get that support that they need. Making sure that feedback is kind and constructive, not just turning around saying it's rubbish or it's this, it's that. Giving someone constructive feedback, it's really, really important, because it means that they can see where they can improve on it. And as I've said before, people being able to feel like that they can make mistakes, it creates that learning opportunity for them. You can also include things like regular check-ins and one-to-ones to show that support and to clarify expectations and the objectives that you expect from people. Avoiding ambiguity, so being specific where possible and having specific deadlines, not just as soon as possible. That's not specific enough. As soon as possible could still be next week. And communication needs to be clear and well defined and structured. Making sure it is structured allows everybody to know what page you're on. On to the next slide, please. So we're going to talk about champions and peer support. So champions matter because they can share lived experience, promote awareness, and encourage adjustments. And peer support can include buddy systems, informal mentoring, and safe spaces to ask those questions and share ideas. It's important that employees have awareness training so that they can promote understanding, reduce the stigma, and also reduce that unconscious bias. For example, now is a great time to get involved because it is currently ADHD Awareness Month for October. So it's really, really important that we're sort of celebrating all those individuals with ADHD. Having buddy and mentors to provide support from onboarding a new starter throughout the life cycle of employment is important as well. Just because someone's completed the 6 months probation or 3 months probation, still let them have that buddy, still let them have that someone, their person that they can go to ask the questions. You can also include other workplace adjustments. So as I've said before about sharing the agenda of a meeting before the actual meeting, allowing written contributions and minutes or summary notes to provide after a meeting. Next slide, please. So culture in action. So everyday behaviours make a difference. Listening without judgment, inviting input from all team members, and asking, how can I support you? You need to lead with empathy and consistency. A culture is when a company values show up in their daily choices, the conversations they're having, and their systems. So it's really important that employers are proactive in offering adjustments to neurodivergent colleagues. Has anybody got a small change that you could make this week, or one change that you could make but you're not sure how? Throw it in the chat. How do you promote ADHD Awareness Month? ADHD Awareness Month can literally be promoted through your social media posts, promoting the fact that it is ADHD Awareness Month. Send out an internal communication with support networks for people with ADHD. If you know you have a colleague who has ADHD, maybe ask them to write something up. I know from my personal experience, I am autistic and ADHD, so it's quite difficult to distinguish which condition impacts my behaviours the most. But with my ADHD, I love sharing my own experiences. So having those toolbox talks, the lunch and learns, raise that awareness and do absolutely anything, just get people talking. You might find that, okay, you might not have an employee who's willing to say, I've got ADHD, but you might have a parent, you might have a carer, you might have someone who's got their great aunt Nessie has got ADHD, so they've got an understanding and they're aware of it, and they might be willing to share their experiences from those different perspectives as well. If you have got an EAP, 100% promote it. Yeah. Quite often EAPs come with mental health support. Quite often, particularly in women, they are misdiagnosed as having a mental health condition over a neurodivergence, because women are more adept at masking than males. So it could be a case of they've been, for example, myself, I've been diagnosed with depression and anxiety. The truth is, it's probably AUDHD, which is the autism and ADHD combined. Have we got any other questions, guys? On to the next slide. I think that is my any other questions. Yeah, any questions at all?
Oh, thank you, Amy. That was really informative. We do have some questions that have come through. Before I ask some questions, actually, it was just some observations that I've made, like just some notes I've made whilst you were talking. And something about communication, like when you were talking about communication and the importance of clear communication is really important for a neurodivergent person.
Yeah.
Could like a line manager say to, or would a good approach be for a line manager to say to their employee, how would you like me to communicate with you? What works best for you?
100%. So if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. And that's the key to it. And that's the bit that everybody needs to remember, is the fact that everybody is individual. Whether you're neurodivergent or not, I find that people communicate in very different ways. So, for example, if you had someone who was deaf, would you automatically assume that they know BSL? Because the thing is, they might not. It might be a newly acquired condition. So it's really, really important that we're asking those questions. How do you want me to communicate with you? Do you want me to write it down, or do you want me to put the whole team on BSL courses? Because it can be something just as simple as that, as to, well, they don't need it. What they can actually do is lip read, and anything that they're not sure on, creating that culture so they can say, oh, I didn't quite catch that, or I'm not sure what you're asking, can we write it down? And it can make that massive, massive difference. So yeah, absolutely ask them, how do you prefer to be communicated with?
Okay. And something else that you were mentioning as well about exit interviews, like being really important. And, you know, I totally agree from a HR perspective, you know, the data and information that you can extract from, you know, that the exit interview data is really, really important. But I never really thought of it in a way of thinking about, you know, employees that, you know, are neurodivergent. How can we better support them? So it's kind of having those questions, isn't it, within that exit interview to see if there's areas, there's gaps, like where a company is not doing as much as they maybe should be doing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I know that from personal experience, I've been in a lot of workplaces where I wouldn't feel comfortable to turn around and go, this is what I'm struggling with, this is where you're getting it wrong almost, because I'd be worried that I'm going to be reprimanded, I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to be put on disciplinary procedure. So having that exit interview gives me that opportunity where, well, what are you going to do? I'm already leaving. So let me tell you how you can improve. Let me tell you how you could have supported me better. And yes, it's too late for that employee, but that feedback, that information could really benefit the next person. I'm wondering if Katie's frozen.
Yeah, I think she has, Amy. Some things that I throughout the slides I noticed you talk about flexible working. Do you feel that employers have to have a flexible working policy? What do you think should be included in it? Obviously, we would always recommend it if they've got flexible working practices. And what's your stance on it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I don't understand why a lot of employers are so big on everybody going back to the office all the time, because it's not feasible. It's not necessary. yes, I can understand it if you work in certain sort of sectors, then yes, it probably is required. So for example, you can't really build a house from home. So maybe in construction you might need to go in if you're a builder or a bricklayer or anything like that. But I do think if you've got the policy, if the option is there, make it clear, because it doesn't need to be every day. It doesn't need to be all the time, but just having that option and allowing individuals to make that decision and having that autonomy to be able to make those decisions as well, it's really, really important.
It just widens your talent pool, doesn't it, by making
Yeah.
work more accessible to more people. I mean, from my own experience, I probably considered neurotypical, but I have to be flexible at work because I've got a child, so I have to. So thankfully, Impact HR, they support me with that, so I can do the school runs. But yeah, like you say, if those things are available, it might attract more employees as well into the workplace if they know that employers are promoting those sorts of things.
Absolutely, because so I've got 2 children, and being able to be that little bit more flexible, being able to go and, you know, some days I don't take a lunch break because I need to do the school run, and that's okay. You know, I'm still getting my work done, I'm still getting my job done. My manager has that trust in me that I'm doing my job. So it's just, you know, it's your talent pool then widens vastly, because then it's also carers, foster carers. You know, they've got so much going on and juggling that it can be really, really beneficial just to know, right, I'm working from home and I can pop out if something happens and make up the time somewhere else. You know, it's
Yeah,
just really, really
absolutely.
important.
But so many organisations, I think, are still quite rigid, and I think that they are losing out on some really good people. So it's good to see that. Do you find that it's becoming? I know there has been talk of them getting people back into the office, but do you feel that there is still more of a change of more allowances to flexible working?
I think it's becoming more popular, because I read somewhere actually the other day that employees are having that bit more power over the jobs. So yeah, there's not a lot of jobs out there, but employees are turning around and going, actually, this is what we want, this is how we want to work, and we're not going to accept anything less.
Yeah.
You know, so, and that's the thing, people are realizing since COVID, people are realizing the fact that actually I can do my job from home. So why am I going to spend an hour traveling, because no company ever pays your travel expenses either if you're commuting.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, train fares are ridiculously expensive.
I know.
You know, when you're spending 2-3 grand on an annual pass to travel to work to earn money, people are going, no, I've had enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any other, you did mention as well, I know Katie touched on it about awareness. Is there anything else you said about like toolbox talks? Is there anything else you think that employers should be doing in the way of like training, like e-learning? Is there anything that you'd recommend?
Yeah, so I know on the Skills Network, they're going to absolutely end up hating me by the end of this because I keep giving away people free money. But on the Skills Network, there are level 2 courses that can be completed by anyone within England and Wales, I think it is, for free. It is fully funded. And you do have neurodivergence, you've got mental health conditions, there's an autism awareness. So they are out there and they are free for employees to do. So if they want more information, they are there. I do think the disability awareness training, EDI training, it should be all part of the mandatory onboarding process and refreshed annually as well.
Yeah,
But
agreed. I think that's so key that it is refreshed. We always recommend that employers, as part of the onboarding process, everybody does EDI, and that it's renewed. It's not just once and then 10 years later. It needs to be refreshed. Absolutely.
It needs to be refreshed, yeah. And the other one that you can also do is if you have staff networks, they can be really, really beneficial as well. Because obviously you can create staff networks for absolutely anything. And it's just getting people together who relate to each other. So, for example, I know some companies have got an LGBTQIA plus support network for their staff, and they just get together and they just have a chat and talk about how the employer can improve for that group of individuals. So it's really important that maybe you create a neurodiversity and disability one as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's brilliant. Thanks, Amy.
That's right.
I don't know if you've got any more questions come through. I think that's all we've got, I believe. I don't think Katie's coming back either. I don't know if there's a hopefully she might join us. Let's see if there was anything else that she was okay. I think this is let's move on then to talk about, I think this is your next webinar you're joining us for.
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
yeah. Did you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely, that's fine. So on the 22nd of October, we are doing another webinar. It is myself doing it, and it's all about the Disability Confidence Scheme. So the Disability Confidence Scheme is a government scheme. It is completely free to access. So we'll go through all the 3 levels of that. We'll talk about inclusive recruitment and retention, and I'll also be discussing some real life success stories of employers that I've worked with as well. And how it can support your wider EDI and neuro-inclusion goals as well.
That's great. We look forward to that one. So yeah, if anyone wants to sign up to that, they can just sign up through our website. Okay. So I think this was Katie was just going to share. I can just share some things that we do at Impact HR. So if you do head to our website, so our website has changed now. So it was Kingswood Group, we're now Impact HR as of today. So head to our website, please check it out. It's all fresh and new. On there we've got some free tools that are really useful. The employment rights bill checklist, HR benchmarking assessment, sexual harassment risk assessment. These are all free to download, and they will just give you an idea of any gaps and anything that we might be able to help you with. And I don't know, is there anything else? Oh yeah, and this is just a bit more about what we do, what makes us different. So we are a flexible provider, so we offer retained support, but we are flexible. So it's quite apt really with this webinar. So we know that one size doesn't fit all. So if there's something that you see on our website but you don't think it's quite right for your organisation, please do reach out, have a chat with us, because we will tailor our services to your needs. Great, so we do offer specialist support for complex people challenges as well. So some HR issues require more than day-to-day advice. So we offer hands-on support for sensitive, high-risk or strategic people matters. This is anything from restructures and 2P to risk assessments and performance systems. So whether it's a one-off project or part of a wider change, we're here to guide you every step of the way. And I think that was the last slide, actually. I think that was it, so I'll leave it on this one. Great, so I don't think there's any more questions. I think some people are dropping off now, but thank you everybody for joining us today. It's been really, really useful, and thank you so much, Amy. And we look forward to the next one in a few weeks' time.
Brilliant, thank you very much, Laura.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye.